Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video where I talk about uh, some issues regarding people with blindness or visual impairment. Today's video, I'm gonna basically, I would say, respond to a video or give my thoughts on a video. I'm not gonna show the video on this channel, but I will link it in the description below, and along with a few other links as well. Now this video, it's by a YouTuber called Molly Burke. I think she's a Canadian or something, who like moved to the U.S. and who's like legally blind and is some type of internet celebrity or something. And she might also have a job on her own as well, like a business on her own. I don't know what the business is. But this video is from hold on, January 5th, 2019. So it's like from a few weeks ago. Well, actually, yeah, 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 a bit over 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks. Right. Yeah, just about 3 weeks. So the video is called "10 Worst Things About Being Blind." Okay. Now, I'm going to like just listen to it because I've seen this video before, but I didn't memorize everything. But if you have watched the video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, like just watch that video first, and like it'll be. I'm not saying it won't be easy to follow along without it, but it'll be easier to follow along once you watch that video. Okay. All right. So let us start the video. I will state her what she states is a problem, like what she states is something she hates about being blind. Well, she actually mentions 11. That's what she says, but um, so I'll mention those, and I'll mention what I think is a solution if I can. Okay, like because I don't claim to know all the answers. I'll tell you that. Oh, good lord. All right. But I'll give you as much of the answers that I can. Okay, so so after the long ass intro, no, I mean, not that long. It's about a minute 52 seconds in. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. Let's just be honest. Okay, I'll keep it 100 with you guys completely. Okay, this is the first time I'm actually like I've actually looked at her face because most of the time I actually like just heard what she has to say because that's what I do with with these type of videos, podcast type videos. I just turn them on and I just listen. I don't pay attention. Yeah, all right. Yeah, focus a lot on makeup, huh? All right. Anyways, the first thing she said is that she faces a challenge or blind people face a challenge with not being able to see their own reflections and like not being able to basically take full, take all the advantages that comes along with it, like let's say being dressed and like seeing how you look and whatnot. Here's something it's a bit tedious, but here's something I tried. Okay, obviously this video is being recorded, like on my like on my Windows Movie Maker. Sometimes what I do is I actually record my face, or if I have like a suit on or whatnot, like if I think I look good, or like like there's nothing needed to be improved, I just like take like a very short video of me where like I turn around and whatnot, and then I go back and look at that video again because I'm low vision. I'm not fully blind. I'm low vision, and I have like a wide screen. So I go back and look at that recorded video again, and then like with my screen magnifier whatnot, I visually inspect if everything is all right. If some things need to be changed, like it's obviously it's my body, so I know where it is. So I go ahead and do that. I guess it's the same thing you can do because now technology has improved. So I guess like um, like watching maybe somebody else, like it's gonna be tedious. It's gonna be tedious. You have to like adjust because that's one of the things with people. That's one of the realities of life is with for people with disabilities. Like they have to adjust. My problem is just the amount of adjustments they have to make. Where like a lot of times just like basic things seem rather impossible. That's my problem. Like that that's my gripe. If there is a way to the end, like if there's a solution, if there's a solution and like a possibility of something to be done in the end, but it just requires a bit more hard work, no, that's no problem. But if there's perceived to be no way in the end whatsoever, so the hard work means nothing, the hard work is perceived to mean nothing, then yes, I have a problem with that. Yes, and like believe me, a lot of people have that perception. So that's my first thought on like about being blind and blind or low vision, and like being able to like self perceive yourself. If you're like watch your own reflections. If you're completely blind, then I don't think I have the answer for you there. You will have to rely on. Here's the thing: you might have relied on other people, or in fact, if I'm not mistaken, maybe this might still be up there. Facebook was trying to do something like this, like with like facial recognition and whatnot. Maybe once this algorithm improves, right? Once it becomes more accurate, the voiceover descriptions become more accurate. They can use that as, let's say, a virtual mirror or something on their phones, and then through that they can like even a completely blind person has an idea of what they look like in the face or whatnot, or what might other people might look like. Okay, so moving on. Okay, number two, she says people staring at you, like because like of your visual impairment, like most likely if you have a cane or a dog or something. Uh, um, Listen, personally, I don't care. Even if they look at my family, I don't care because okay, I will put it in a PC way. Okay, no, I know, so not a PC way because I'm not a politically correct person. Okay, but I'll put it in a less offensive way. I am not married to their sisters or daughters or aunts or whatnot. So why should I care what they think of me when they look at me. Why should I care? Random people in the street. I'm not married to their sisters or their daughters. Why should I care? Moving on.
Feeling vulnerable. I mean, it's really scary sometimes to be in situations alone when you can't see and to feel like you are lacking a defense mechanism to get yourself to safety. It can feel very vulnerable at times.
Okay, number three, she says, oh God, wait, get her face on my screen. Um, uh, number three, she says, feel, the sensation of vulnerability, you, you know, of feeling like you're in danger. This is why what I do, what I do all the time. First of all, you need some courage. You need a lot of courage because if you end up like there's a difference between being courageous, taking calculated keyword calculated risks and being stupid. Okay, if it's just going from point A to point B, okay, here's what I do. I first walk or travel this a route in what I perceive to be the least time consuming way and the most efficient, the safest way. Then I stick to this. I stick to this, but always keep in mind of viable alternatives. Next, always stick to lit areas. Do not go in dark, try to avoid dark areas as much as possible. Next, do not go through dark backwards alleys. Do not go like behind buildings and behind alleys and whatnot. Generally, try to stick to a vicinity where more eyes are around. Let me give you an example. Let's say I were to go to point, like, let's say if I wanted to go to the gym. Okay, I would rather take the pavement right next to the main road instead of cutting through the back and behind some buildings where it's, first of all, it's not that well lit, and second, it's not that well populated either. Okay, so these are some strategies that I found it's helpful. Okay, and besides, like, you're talking about me who does not have a dog, and I've seen some blind people. They have like they have like Rottweilers and shit, or sorry. So they have like they have some intimidating looking dogs, and as for a person like me who can't see a dog until like they're like kind of close to me, and dogs sometimes get curious with me anyways for some reason, like especially like watching the red tape on my blind cane and whatnot, although like apparently they're colorblind, but they somehow either are curious at me or like seem to get agitated with me. I don't know, but yeah, those are some of the strategies. um all Also learning some defense mechanism, because there are like, let's say some colleges, they do provide self-defense classes, and like there's some places that do provide self-defense classes. A little time investment in them, and or if it's necessary, a little money investment in them wouldn't hurt either. But my advice would be to basically stick towards something that's more cautious. Okay, and like this also depends on terrain. Let's say I'm in Florida right now. In the summertime, you have nasty ass insects and critters and snakes coming out at times. This is why I never, on my own, like unless there's no other way, I never walk on grass. I always walk on the pavement, because on the pavement there's less chances for things to hide than there is on the grass. And this is why, like, a lot of times, like, even though there's like, for me, let me give an example of, like, like, how I'd, goddamn her face, adapt, like, adapt to, like, getting from point A to point B. Even though for me to get from my house to the pavement, I just walk in a straight line, but the thing is I have to walk over some grass. If I go out the other way, I have to go around the building where I walk on concrete and I walk on paved roads or paved paths, but no grass. I always take the other way around. So these are just safety precautions. Okay, moving on.
Part is the fact that people generally, I would say, expect less of you and treat you differently. People in my life who know me now, I feel like they like less of me. In fact, I'd say they expect like more of me. I feel like they like hold me to the stitching it, but that's not general public. I would say it's like really nice when I, know who I am or surrounded by my followers who know who I am. It's like really nice, don't treat me differently, but when I'm in situations around strangers who have no idea who I am or what I do, and they know that I'm disabled, they treat me differently and they expect me to be able to do less or be less capable. That's annoying to feel like people are treating you like you're less than you are. Number five, to feel like
All right. The fourth one she mentioned, at least she stated as number four, is people expecting less of you. And one, I, I, I basically caught on one phrase she said that once it goes something along the lines that once people know that you are disabled, keyword disabled, they think you're not able to do as much as other like normal people. Keyword disabled. Okay, I'm going to make a separate video on this. Most likely either today or tomorrow. I'm going to make a separate video on this. This classification of a blind person being equal to a deaf person, being equal to a person on a wheelchair or crutches, being equal to someone with like autism and whatnot. This is one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest problems, with how the solutions to visual impairment is approached. This classification of everything, all this disabilities being classified as one, as oh, you're all disabled, you're all one group. I'm sorry, that's not the case, because we are not one group. Because yes, we have a commonality in that we have some sort of malady, some sort of disability, and yes, to all those nah, you know what? I'm not gonna get into that until I'm told. But malady, okay, malady. Yes, we have some sort of issues when it comes to a person compared to a person who has all their faculties in check, physical and mental faculties in check. But our challenges are unique. No. Our challenges and the solutions to those challenges are not identical. No, they're not. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say, let's say, you're running an institution where, like, uh, it has mostly videos but no closed captioning. Okay, you have to climb, let's say, a flight of 8 or 10 or 15 stairs to get to this institution. If you just set up a ramp on the side, okay, and then one deaf person comes and basically indicates that they can't and starts making noise about the institution, saying that they can't they can't benefit from what this institution has to offer. The, then maybe sometimes this random institute will just point at the ramp, like, see, we are assisting disabled people, we are equal, we are all about equal access, as if the deaf person has any real use of the ramp. And That is the main issue of the deaf person. So this no, no, you know what? I'm gonna talk about this I'm gonna talk about this in a separate video. Like I'll end up talking about it right here. But yeah, people who expect less of you. Do you know what I do? Lead by example. I'm like, you expect less of me? You really expect less of me? Okay, just watch as I make you look small. If it's within my field, I said just watch. I'll prove you wrong. No, and if I don't prove you wrong, I will outperform you. So yeah, people around me, people who know me, they learned not to expect less of me. Especially if it's in a field that I'm involved in and I have expertise in, they know not to expect less of me. In fact, I don't expect less of me. Believe me, I a lot of times I'm very pissed off at myself if I miss, let's say, a mental deadline or whatnot, or like if I stray off my own schedule, I get pissed off at myself a lot. Moving on.
People are treating you like you're less than you are. Number five is accessing information and education.
Okay, number five. I'll just stop right there. Accessing information in education. In 2019, I would like to think that is less the case. That case is is the case of that is being reduced, at least in like countries like America and the UK, where like almost everything is available electronically. Furthermore, I've heard rumors that like now there's a bigger push being made towards providing material, classroom material and curriculum electronically. And when it means that when like things are formatted electronically, most of them are usually readable by assistive technology. She mentioned something about PDFs not being recognized by her, not being too much of use to her. The last I checked, because I use Zoom Text. Zoom Text is pretty, as long as there is legible, recognizable text on the PDF file. First of all, I believe Adobe Acrobat Reader has its own reader installed into it. But if you're using something like Zoom Text, and if there is detectable text, not a scanned image, because a scanned image, like like all, be it PDF, be it JPG, it doesn't matter. Okay, be it PNG, it doesn't matter. Okay, but if there is detectable text that you can copy and paste onto a Word document and edit on a Word document, that's the easiest way to put it. Sometimes Zoom Text will have some issues, but what I found is, it, especially the later versions of Zoom Text, or I would like to believe so, because I think like things only get better, not get worse. I don't think there should be too much of an issue. All right, moving on.
Unfortunately, this comes down to how inaccessible the word.
Okay, sorry. Let me add to that. When it comes to certain aspects of education, one of which I am working on, yes, there is still a huge barrier, and I am working on a solution to that. Trust me, that is my research. But when it comes to text-based stuff, I don't think that like there's too much of an issue. Okay, I might make a separate video. I might make a separate video on this as well. Why like Braille or this Braille or nothing substitute this approach. It's not good because it's sort of a bit counterintuitive.
Countless at times, and
Moving on.
it would have been a lot easier to get the grades that I did, read the board class, or flip through my textbook, like just things like that are
Yeah, she talks about reading the board and flipping through textbooks. Textbooks are becoming more and more electronic. Here's what I do. I learn the stuff beforehand, or I read through material beforehand so that I can follow along in class. Yeah.
I think people take for granted at times. Even now, accessing information, I can't read that or view to me, and because of
But like I said, this will differ based on your level of visual
more
impairment.
inaccessible people, it makes it more challenging. Number six is having to rely on other people. They know in my favorite things about blindness to talk about the fact that my blindness has helped me develop the other side of the coin is I have to rely on other people, and sometimes they don't follow through. They don't come through for me.
All right. The next thing she brought up is relying on other people, and people who don't come through for you. Molly, let me tell you this. This is one of the things that pisses me off the most, because when they don't come through for you, it makes you feel disabled. It makes you feel that, like, so just for some basic function, which normal people can do basically just like that, just like that. You have to rely on the mercy of other people. This is one of my greatest. Uh, this is one of the things that I hate absolutely the most, and this is one of the things that pisses me off the most. I'm like, no, I am not going to live. I am not going to live at your mercy. I'm like, come what may. Because I'm personally, I'm past that point. I am not going to live on someone's mercy. Yeah, the solution for this, like I said, this will differ from person to person. Me being like severely visually impaired, not fully blind, but like pretty well defined, legally blind. Just fierce determination, and believe me, like if there is a way, let's say a commute, let's say point A to point B, it takes half an hour on foot. By driving, it'll maybe take maybe 5 minutes. At best 5 minutes. I would rather walk. Almost every day I would rather walk. Not only that it's very good for your health, but no, I'm not going to rely on favors. Like if it's something I basically need, which I pretty much do every day. Just a moment. Damn. I do every day. I'm not going to rely on favors. However, in places like, let's say, some places in Florida, it gets very difficult because things are placed so far away that you almost need a car. And this is one of my pet peeves with like certain parts of Florida. They're very inaccessible to people who would rather walk. I'm like, I have to walk 2 miles just to get to a Burger King. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on.
That's really annoying. When I'm like, God, if I could only just do this for myself, leave, and that can be getting denied access because of my guide dog. This is
Okay. The next point she brings. I don't think she. Well,
something that will always
yeah. I don't think she puts a number to it. Good lord. Or get the fix off. See. Here's the thing. Getting denied access because of your guide dog. Listen. I understand why people might feel apprehensive. Uh, Not everyone likes dogs. Okay. Uh, Me personally, I'm not a dog person. I'm legally blind. I'm not a dog person. And and she says, like, how would you feel like being denied because of your race or because of your religion or because of the color of your skin? I'm sorry. Those things does not equate to having a dog. There are a lot of fully blind people who don't have dogs. They just have a cane. They don't have dogs. Although I know that yes, a dog can be much more helpful, because basically a dog is leading you somewhere, so you just follow the dog. But yes, you should understand, not everyone likes dogs, and there are some cultures that also sort of see dogs in like a rather less favorable way. Yeah. So I mean, let's say there's some people who have this belief who doesn't, because dogs like to lick things. They don't like getting licked by dogs. Not even licked by dogs. So look, me personally, because I used to play blind cricket, and let's say one, maybe maximum two people in a group of, let's say, 15 or 16 or sometimes like 17 people had guide dogs. But yeah, and generally that was not a problem. Let's say we traveled in a bus all around the country. They generally used to sit in the back because they generally occupy a bit more space because of their dogs. But it's not I ever did not talk to them or did not associate with them. No, no, I've no I even as much as I could, when they were not when their dogs were relaxing and whatnot, because yes, they're working animals, but yes, a lot of times when a person's just laying down, yeah, the dog wants to go play. Yeah, sometimes me and my friends play with the dog. So, but like I said, I understand when people say oh, they're a little apprehensive of dogs. So I'm sorry, Molly, I can't be with you on this one.
frustrate me, and
And no, please do not conflate being needing a dog with your religion. Please do not conflate that. In fact, a lot of people who make these type of claims, a lot of people don't understand really how serious something like religion is to people who actually follow it. But anyways, moving on.
it's really frustrating when somebody drives away from me. Somebody drove away from my religious beliefs. I need to function too. Just like you don't want to be discriminated to be different either. Missing out on body language, again, so something I can't control about me that makes me different either. Missing out on body language and facial expressions. This is such a big one.
Okay, next one, missing out on body language and facial expressions. Okay, this one I'm pretty much gonna leave it alone. Here's how I deal with it. Here's how I deal with it. I am extremely extroverted because I believe that some of the biggest problems, at even from the smallest levels to the biggest levels, happen due to miscommunication. So this is why I'm extremely extroverted and extremely conspicuous with pretty much what I believe, like almost all, not all the time, but almost all the time, with what I believe and what I am thinking of, just to minimize that in my mind, my perceived, minimize my perceived amount of miscommunication as much as possible and misinterpretation as much as possible. Yeah, sometimes I have friends with me. They say, "Oh, yeah, Tan, there, Tan, that girl was, totally checking you out. That girl, or that girl was totally into you." And sometimes, yes, sometimes not that often, but sometimes yes, girls do, like you know, because she's talking about let's say with boys and whatnot. So I'm talking about girls. Like sometimes yes, girls do come up to me. In fact, just a few weeks ago, two two girls essentially started groping me on the street. Like I had my blind cane folded, so a lot of them did. They once you have your blind cane folded, they think they're like drumsticks or something like that. Yeah, two girls started groping me on the street. Like okay, but yeah, my solution to this would be first of all explain, you can't see and whatnot, like, and then try and be as clear as possible with what you're thinking and with your descriptions and whatnot, because, and also try and pay attention I know people do this differently. Many people do this differently, but try and pay attention to their audio cues, their vocal cues, like, and try and make successful associations with, like, what type of audio cues and what type of vocal tones reflect what type of emotion or thought pattern. A lot of people don't actually make noises or like express vocal tones on this, like on what you call it, like like on reflecting what they think. A lot of people hide what they think and whatnot pretty much very well, and you have to read their face. So there it gets a little challenging. That's the best solution I could provide. If you have a better solution, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will try it out myself. Like, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like, but that's all the knowledge I have on this, with lived experience.
More than 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah, well, she goes on to say more than 90% of the communication is non-verbal. Like, okay, I didn't know that.
I'm missing out on good eye. I'll leave a bit. Man, I was so into you. I was
Oh,
looking at
good
you.
lord.
Top team, too facial.
Lord, the guy. All right.
And even if you look like, okay, this is so embarrassing. The other day I was like trying to figure out if this guy like how, but I couldn't figure it. Like 48 of them were visual, and it definitely becomes a challenge when I'm talking to somebody in particular who has a very strong accent. There's a language barrier. You know, if somebody doesn't know the word for something in that language, they'll like point. I can't see that, so that can be really hard. Number nine, lack of employment opportunities. They say about 80% of the blind community is unemployed, and if I could put
Okay. She says one of them is lack of employment opportunities. I'm going to get to this in the end.
this happen, applying for a job with blind partners, which is such a shame. Getting another degree, they'll be able to apply because they don't try. Some because they don't applying 30 times and being denied business. I didn't want to have to use my own loud and dark environments, I should say. Like a nightclub or dark environment, achieve my own potential. Next one, being in loud or dark environments. Like loud and dark environments, I should say.
Okay. Next one she said about being in loud and dark environments. I'm not a party person, so I wouldn't know too much about this. Uh, but I could understand it. Like, I've been to like one or two nightclubs, and yes, I could understand. You know, it is very disorienting, because yes, we a lot of us have heightened, like, so somewhat heightened senses. But when the speaker music sort of mutes out, they sort of muffle the general, like, walking and dancing and, like, like stomping sounds that people make on the dance floor. It gets disorienting, trust me. And the flashing lights, it gets disorienting. So I just avoid them altogether. But anyways,
Nightclub.
like, unless like I'm performing, because on the stage there's not that many people. Like, as a stage performer, like, like I've done this, like, a couple times, but yeah, on the stage I'm very comfortable, trust me.
A bar where it gets less I see, so like you can't see it all, and it's loud, so you can't. You might be drinking. Pieces. It's another situation now of humans, strangers, packed in. Just feel unsafe. I can't communicate. I can't have fun because I can't even talk to the friends that I'm there with. I don't know what's happening. I miss having fun. Love to meet new people. As I would, I'm always the person in the party who's like, let's go outside. People with the loud music playing, and I don't know. I prefer to hang out with like 10 of my friends to a bar. And finally, I guess we're ending on kind of a sad note. I don't even know how to phrase this. Being more at risk for sexual abuse and violence.
Okay, now the final one she says is being more at risk of sexual abuse and violence. Um, if you listen, this is something like, like sexual abuse and violence. Well, especially initiated, like, violence, where, like, the other person is the aggressor. No one should actually stand for this, and, like, I'm like, if the cases are legit, not false accusations, legit, then yes, like, action should be taken. Absolutely. Abuse and violence should, like, abuse sexually and violence, should be reduced. Yeah, and should be, like, if possible, dropped to zero. Let me give you a story. I was at this bar one time, like, because like I was out with some friends, they drink, and like my two friends, they're like legally blind as well. Okay, we went to a bar, and the strangest people. And one of my friends, he's like a Bengali, but he looks like Norse white. He looks like albino white. He's so white, his hair is as white as snow. Okay, you cannot find someone who looks more Caucasian than him. Trust me. Okay. Now we went up to this bar, right? My friends ordered some drink. I ordered like a Coke or something. Suddenly, two of my friends were like looking behind me. Okay, I was pointing that direction. They were pointing in my direction. One of them said, like, well, look at your face, mate. I'm like, hey, that's not very nice. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Then I realized they're not looking at me. They're looking at people behind me. And then we see there are people who hate, who specifically hate on disabled people. This is in the UK. Okay, and I went up like they started arguing with me, and there were like two guys and two girls. Okay, and they say, "Oh, you're blind. Oh, look at you. You're a virgin. You're a virgin." I'm like, "Virgin, eh? Why don't you send those two girls this way? I'll show you like how much of a man I am." And then like we almost got into the fight, but the bartenders and the waiters, like it was the Weatherspoons. Whoever been to the UK, like Weatherspoons are not small bars, they're not small corner pubs. They're actually pretty big. Some of them can get pretty big. They actually stepped in and they kicked those guys out. So yeah, I would say just be cautious. Don't just take fights head on. Don't go looking for fights, and just be very cautious. This is my solution. Not only to disabled people, to anyone. Just be very cautious. Learn some self-defense techniques and strategies, and like travel in groups and whatnot. This goes to both guys and girls. Okay, this goes out to every human being. Okay, now let's get to the big one. Okay, now the last one I said, which I will get to, is like employment opportunities. Hold on. Hold on. Fuck's sake. Okay, this is at the 8 minute and 10 second mark of Molly Burke's video. Okay. Okay. This one I'm going to break down piece by piece. First of all, she says 80% of the blind community is unemployed. Um, the research that I've done, and I'm doing research on this. Trust me. Like there's sources from the AFB, NFB, and like I believe even NIH and whatnot, National Institute of Health and whatnot, or National Institute and whatnot. Like maybe they're even there. They say over 70% of people with blindness and visual impairment are either unemployed or underemployed. Underemployed means basically, like what I equate with the phrase underemployment is, oh, we'll just give you a token job because we feel bad for you. So we'll just give you some job just to make you feel like you're worthwhile or something. Fuck that. I'm sorry for cussing, but trust me, this is a very this is extreme mood point with me. Okay, but yes, although the statistic might not be as bad as she says it, but it is very bad. In fact, the AFB or someone, they say over 70% of people with blindness or vision are either unemployed or underemployed. That means more. That means more than more than 7 out of every 10 people with visual impairment are either unemployed or underemployed. That is an unacceptable statistic. Okay, now this is something very important. She states that there was a study a few years ago, and like she said she will try and post it link in the description, but it's not in the description. It's not. Wait, let me check right now. Right now. Right now. Uh, hmm. Just a moment. Um, hold on. Let me just read this comment because she did pin a comment. Okay. No. In her pinned comment or the descriptions, that study, a study that she points at, it's not the link to that study is not there. She says that there was an anonymous survey done where the question was asked like would employers h- hire or employ a sighted person over a visually impaired person if both people apply for the same job, and 8 out of 9 employers, this is what she's saying, that 8 out of 9 employers said yes, they would hire the sighted person over the blind person or the visually impaired person. I'm sorry, I need to see this study. I need to see the survey. I need to see the survey. Otherwise, I can't fully believe her. And I tried looking for it on Google Scholar and on Google as well. I did not find anything. In fact, uh, I'm actually going to post a couple more links from the American Foundation for the Blind for anyone who is interested in hiring people with visual impairment, competent, keyword, competent people with visual impairment, because I do not want my people represented in positions where they're also exhibiting incompetency. That because that is against the point of everything. That is against the point of equal opportunity and whatnot. Equal opportunity does not mean replace someone competent with someone who is incompetent. Because in the end, we're in an outcome driven world where a lot of things we do is dictated by the outcome. Okay? When it comes to people with disabilities and whatnot, or like with visual impairment and whatnot, yes, some adjustments need to be made, but a lot of them that I've seen, they're actually very like the few that I've seen, they're actually very, and I couldn't emphasize enough, few employees that I've seen who are visually impaired, they're very hardworking. They're very hardworking, so there's no reason they should not be employed. Okay, and yeah, I'm going to link two videos. No, no, two. I'm going to link to two web pages. One of them has a video. The other one is the other one is let's say a short document on like sources to go to and what to expect and how to conduct an interview with a visually impaired person and whatnot from the American Foundation for the Blind. They have actually done some pretty good work.
Which is such a shame. I have so many friends who like go to school again and again to get more degrees with the hopes like by getting another degree they'll be able to find better employment and they just can't. And so many people have to live on disability support checks. And it's not because they don't try. It's not because they don't want to get up and get a job. It's not because they're lazy by any means. It's because after applying 30 times and being denied because of something you can't change, what you give up to, I don't know. I mean, it's the reason I started my own business. I didn't want to have to rely on people to employ me and see my potential. I wanted to get out there and achieve my own potential. Next one, being allowed.
Okay. So all right, I'm gonna end it there. Okay. The last thing she said, and this one, holy shit, man. This one, this one got me extremely got me extremely down for almost like 2 days and what 2 or 3 days, because that's when I first seen this video. She said that a lot of her friends keep getting degrees after degrees after degrees, hoping that things will change and that'll get them employed, but it doesn't work that way. Yeah, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not doing a PhD mostly like out of like only out of interest. Yes, I'm doing it out of interest, but there's a big amount of compulsion for which I'm doing a. I got a bachelor's, two masters, and now I'm doing a PhD. Yeah. So my solution to this, it has to be through government. Like, just my suggestion, it has to be through government legislation, because like I said, in the end, look at that statistic. Over 7 out of every 10 people with blindness or visual impairment are either unemployed or underemployed. This one thing should tell you that your the entire structure that is there to support people with blindness and visual impairment is fractured. Do you want to see no? Do you want to see a bigger reflection of this? Like, no? Do you want to see, like, how, like, do you want to see the bigger, a more uh like, uncensored picture of this? Just imagine, just imagine what would blind if this is the statistic that more than 7 out of every 10 people are either unemployed or underemployed. If there were no disability benefits, you didn't get the disability check, like me, because I'm not an American citizen. So all of a sudden, like, I'm not entitled to support, because I was born in the wrong country with the wrong passport. Yeah, as if I had a say in that. Okay, and, like, like, there's another thing as well that I suggest, which is in terms of like a certain type of migration. But that's more into politics. I might get into that in another video. But yes, just imagine what the situation would be for people with blindness and visual impairment if they did not receive the disability check. Just imagine. Because, listen, this disability thing, look, a job, in the end, a job means much more than just financial benefits. Financial benefits are there because you need money to eat, you need money to live, you need money to put a roof over your head and support your family. But a job is also a part of your identity, and a job is also a part of your own, you know, your own what do you say, reward for all the hard work you have put in getting to this point, being qualified enough to get a job. The solution for this, it has to be through legislation. The politicians have to get behind it. And this is why, in that video, the first video I made, awareness is one of the biggest issues. The lack of awareness is why in my calculation, is why such a statistic exists. Lack of awareness, which leads to lack of representation, is why such a statistic exists. Just watch that American Foundation for the Blind video. Okay? Believe me, I could not find a date, but that video looks old because it is at a 640 by 480p resolution. Generally, videos of that resolution are shot in the 90s or something, or like 90s, 80s, or maybe early 2000s at the latest. Okay, generally, believe me, show that without showing that video to other people. Just ask random people in academia or whatnot, just random students, undergraduate and graduate students. How many blind scientists have they heard of? How many blind philosophers have they heard of? How many blind mathematicians have they heard of? Just watch the response. You will be surprised. Even some of the top students, just ask them. You will be surprised. And that shows you the lack of awareness. All right, guys. Sorry, this is a bit of a long video, but it had to be made. It had to be made because nothing will have a solution, because the time for discussing and like saying like, oh look, there's a problem. The time for pointing fingers uh, at the problem is long gone in my estimation. Now the time for solution is at hand. We have to solve. We have to find a way to solve this problem, and like, okay, there's a problem. How do we fix it? And actions need to be taken to fix it. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, hit that like and subscribe button. This is Tanveer Syed signing out.